I would like to remind everyone of some of the instructions included in the remote meeting protocol. Everyone will be muted, and if you're asked to speak, you unmute yourself. Speak and mute yourself again when you are finished. If you have a question, press the virtual hand on the screen, and the chair will invite you to speak one person at a time. Please do not begin speaking until the chair invites you in. If you have a comment to make, you should only raise the symbol of a hand when the chair asks for comments, and again, you will be invited to speak one person at a time. If for any reason a member has cause to leave the meeting, then he must indicate this to the chair before leaving. Please raise your hand or send a message to the online chat. Okay, it's gone 4:15. Michelle has started recording. Can I ask all officers and guests to turn off their cameras? You should turn on your camera and microphone when you speak, but please turn them back off again afterward. Okay, prynawn da, croeso I cyfarfod, diolch I chi gyd am ddod. Good afternoon, welcome to the Neighbourhood Services Scrutiny Committee. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Agenda item number 1, apologies for absence.
Chair, apologies have been received from John McCarthy, and Phil Starr is hoping to join the meeting, but I don't think he's here at the moment, so apologies from him in the event that he doesn't attend.
Lovely, thank you very much, Michelle. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest. Sian, sorry, you got your hand up? Have
Yeah,
you got to remember for Baith?
Sorry, just to remind, so just to add on from the apologies, I didn't get my hand up quick enough, sorry, that Lee has also apologised to say that he's travelling back from America at this point in time.
Lee's here to meet, and I believe.
Sorry?
I think Lee is here.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Nice.
he's on the meeting.
Ah, right, excellent, excellent. That's great, thank you.
Here, yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
While you're there, Sian, can I ask, have we got a new co-opted member from Baith?
Not at this meeting.
Okay.
All of the the legal framework hasn't been completed as yet, but we hope to do that in the near future.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Sian. Okay, agenda item number 3. And this is fleet management. And I believe this will be presented by Johan van Tu.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Lovely.
Yeah, pronounce that right. Thank you. I'm gonna start with a small presentation about the vehicle replacement program. Can everybody see that?
Yes, thank you, Johan.
Okay, so first of all, my name is Johan van Tu. I'm the transport manager in Merthyr County Borough Council since 2020. Before that, I was a transport manager for a commercial company, and prior a driving instructor and also a mechanical recovery driver. So I got quite a bit of experience with all sorts of vehicles and driver training. So a few questions about why it's important to replace vehicles regularly, especially now that we're looking to reach targets of being carbon neutral by 2030, and we're looking to replace them with electric vehicles. So there are some financial challenges with this, operational challenges, because the electric vehicles can have to be charged, so we don't have the infrastructure in place at the moment. But we gotta overcome them, and I believe we are responsible for this change. We gotta think of how the future is gonna look like. So by 2030, we should only use electric vehicles unless the technology is not available at the time. And it's no way not to do it, because what's going to happen if we don't replace them? We're still going to produce carbon, and we're not going to reach the target set by Welsh government. How are we going to measure our success? Well, obviously by seeing how many vehicles we replace by then. hopefully will be 100% electric. We got everybody on board about 2 years ago. Not many employees, so supervisor, managers, they were confident that this can be achieved, but now the technology allows it. Is widely available from multiple manufacturers. And we also can unlock potential for new opportunities, like saving money while doing it. Is new for everyone, so everybody needs to adapt. We got to look at it like the way the smartphones come on the market about 15 years ago, and now we can't live without them. I believe it's going to be the same with electric vehicles. We can use the feedback from users, from the drivers themselves effectively, because they will tell us if the vehicle is not suitable or is not fit for purpose. And in some situation, we're going to have to accept when electric vehicle is not available, like just yet, like for tractors, for example, galley machines and other vehicles, which they are specialists use. Instead of looking at the cost of the vehicles when we buy it, we must look at the cost for the entire life of the vehicle. So for how long we're going to keep it, divide it up per year, obviously, and see how, including the cost of the fuel, which electricity is about 5 times cheaper than the diesel. And I think with the prices going up now is a good opportunity to accelerate this. We must keep everybody involved. Vehicle replacement process never stops. So just by becoming electric, that doesn't mean we done our job and then we can stop doing it. We got to keep ourselves up to date with the new technology. Could be hydrogen developing soon better than electric, and also the new batteries, new capacity, longer range, and other benefits. It's a continuous learning process. So at the moment, is nobody fully qualified to understand the entire technology, like how the electric vehicles work, how they're going to evolve. It's a guessing game, and we're going to keep learning probably until we got all the vehicles we need, and probably behind that. And there's always room for improvement. Doesn't mean if we fully electric and we're saving in fuel and we don't produce carbon, that's the end of it. Reduce cost and also reduce vehicles where possible with the new technology being made available. And we can share the success with others or learn from others at the same time, other local authorities, other companies which they already done it or they're in process of doing it in the same time with us probably. Any suggestions are welcome. Same if you got any questions for me, I'm happy to answer.
Johan, thank you very much for your presentation. We'll go straight on to questions, and I think Councillor Clive Jones.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Questions are on the report, most of them. On the bottom of the page 4.1, there's a paragraph there relating to the situation in February 2020. And it goes on to say there that there were long periods of time for these vehicles in the workshop for repairs, affecting adversely the service delivery. And that was a cost of £323,185. Do you know what was the cost of hiring additional vehicles? Do you have that information for that year? Because clearly, apart from carrying out urgent repairs, you would have had to got other additional vehicles by hiring out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't got an exact cost. I started my role in September 2020, so before that I struggled to find the data from Sean Purnell, which was off sick at the time when I took over, so I didn't really have to have a proper takeover. I believe around 60 days, so about 2 months for the whole year, and we pay for a HGV in waste about £170 a day. So the cost would have been in the region of £9,000 to £10,000, but that's an estimate. I can't guarantee that for sure.
Yeah, so that's for all vehicles where you're hiring, whichever department, it
Yeah,
would,
mainly in waste for the HGVs was the higher cost.
yeah,
The other departments, they use small vans, so it's not really if a technician need a vehicle, they can cope with a small van for a short period of time.
yeah,
The cost
yeah.
for that is around £12 a day, so it's not really an extreme cost, or some. It's not negligible, like of course. So, but it will be within hundreds compared to thousands, like it is for HGVs in waste.
Yeah. Okay. And on over the page on page 551, you say there is a fleet of 127 vehicles. 76% of the vehicles are not older than 5 years. And I think it says there that yes, in the last sentence, we're now in a place where we can hire vehicles to other local authorities, generating regular incomes. So could you tell me what type of vehicle you would be hiring out? And do you know what the income is, from income stream is from that?
Yes, with that I can answer. Obviously, if you need to hire vehicles, you can find vans or buses or anything else from the hiring companies. The one you struggle is with recycle collection, curbside recyclers. And that's what we struggled in the past. So we used to hire them from Blina at £170 a day. We are in a position since beginning of November 2021. We rented out to Torvain, which they struggle with curbside recyclers, 1.2 vehicles, mainly one, all the way up until now, generating us £140 per day. So we cash in about £18,000 since.
Right. So do we have stick with that recycling vehicle or refuse vehicles? Do we have a pool of those? I mean, if you're hiring out, say, a recycling vehicle and we don't have a spare one, how is that done? Because this service is out either 5 or 6 days a week sometimes.
Yes. This come at a time when we replace our recycling vehicles. So there was we replaced 6 curbside recyclers. So we had the new one delivered in September, and the plan was to sell the old ones to the auction and generate the income and get rid of them, so we reduce cost.
Yeah.
As it happened, Torvay needed help at the time, and 2 of our curbside recyclers, they were in good shape. We just took it to inspection, revision, they were good to go, so we just hired them before we sell them. So on top of the sale of the vehicles, which is going to happen probably in the next few weeks when Torvay no longer going to need them, we managed to get another £18,000 in revenue in renting them out.
Well, I think that's good, innovative, sharp thinking at the time, because you had new vehicles, but you had the other vehicles they were using. So at that particular time, you had some spare vehicles before they were sold on to the auction. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
My other question, Chair, is under 5.3, where you refer to the fact that you'll have you've been awarded funding for 7 more electric vehicles, which are due in the summer sometime, in May, I think. That will mean that you'll have a total so far then of 13 electric vehicles, but we got a fleet of 127. And it says in the report that you don't anticipate, or the council doesn't anticipate, having a whole fleet of 127 or more electric until 2030. That's 8 years away. Is there any way that that program can be speeded up?
The initial plan was to change 10% of the vehicles we got each year, because if you leave it for the last couple of years, we're going to struggle. So the plan is to change 10%, around 10 to 15 vehicles per year. So that will guarantee us by 2030 we'll be in a very good place where we're only going to have to replace the last 20 vehicles, which will be the HGVs, or the specialist vehicles, which at the moment they're not available on the market. However, the main problem we got at the moment, and the most difficult obstacle, is the infrastructure, charging these vehicles, because it's easy to replace them. You just go to a manufacturer, get the vehicle in, but then you got to use it 8 hours a day, and it's got to be fully charged from the moment you pick it up. Some vehicles, they can take it home as well. So for on-call officers and operatives, which they got to have the access to the vehicle in the weekend, and that caused some technical issues. However, we got, the technology evolved, and we can charge them rapidly now. If takes about half an hour to 40 minutes, which 2 years ago it would take 5 to 6 hours probably to charge one of these vehicles.
Right.
The main problem was having enough capacity to charge 130 vehicles. So let's say like Wayside, we got 60 vehicles parked there overnight. To charge 60 vehicles, out of them 35 HGVs, we need around 600 to 700 kilowatts power overnight to do that, when outside only have 114 total. So we applied for a new connection from Western Power Distribution. We got a grant from Welsh Local Government Association of £300,000. We use 200,000 for new connections in Unit 5 and Unit 20. That will give us sufficient power for all our vehicles. Once that's in place, and the work is due to commence by the end of this month. So hopefully in the next 2 months we have all that power on site. Then we can speed up the chargers, which again, we got lots of projects with that to install around 70 chargers. I don't know how much we're going to get funding from, but 10 they already been approved in Unit 20 and another 2 in Unit 5. So by midsummer we should have sufficient chargers for about 20 vehicles. Once we get more infrastructure and more charging capacity, we can speed up the change to electric a little bit faster.
Right. So the issue then really is how quickly you can get these charging points in being. And for example, like a recycling vehicle or the larger vehicles, do they need more power as opposed to a charging point for a van or a car? And is that the question? And I suppose you've just touched upon it. It's the question of allocating sufficient money for these chargers. So if there was more money set aside in the budget for these charging points, am I right in saying that we could increase that 10%? I don't know, perhaps even double it per year?
Yes, I suppose so. At the moment, the money is not, the money was an issue about 2 years ago. But the Welsh government and the UK government, pretty much everybody's offering grants for it. The Welsh Government Energy Service, they've been great. They've been helping us purchase the initial vehicles, and then another 7 now, and they actually offer us more grants for the future. Getting the power on site turned up to be the biggest challenge, especially with the COVID last year. We applied for increase to Western Power in May last year, and the work hasn't been done now because they have difficulties getting the equipment in and having enough staff. They were behind with work, so they just confirmed now that they're going to start at the end of this month. It'll take about 6 weeks, so hopefully by the end of April we should have enough capacity on our sites for as much as we need, and then we can focus on getting the chargers in, which grants are available. We've been given £300,000 last year. I'm just applying now I'm about to apply for 688,000, if I remember correctly, from Cardiff Capital Region for a grant. If that's granted, that will be sufficient charging for about 70 vehicles. So that will put us in a good place then to accelerate up to 50% of our fleet in the next couple of years.
So all the charging, you've got to get the power in, Western Power, and then the issue of the charging points, I suppose, is that work carried out by the local authority or through a contractor, the local authority?
It will be contractors,
Yeah.
which they're approved by our procurement.
Right.
So yeah, at this point, is getting the power in. After that
Yeah.
will be just the financial issue
Right.
with contractors. So yeah, you're right in what you're saying about having more money allocated will accelerate it.
Yeah.
But after we get the power on sites, because at the
Yeah.
moment that's the biggest obstacle.
Coming back to an issue, I mean, like, I suppose thousands, maybe millions of other vehicle owners. I'm reluctant to change my car at the moment because I'm waiting to see where all these charging points, thousands of them, are going to be placed throughout the United Kingdom. And they seem to be very slow to the mark on that. And apart from the exorbitant cost of buying an electric vehicle. But once the charging points come down and subsequently the cost of making and building an electric vehicle, I believe there'll be a tsunami rush of people to buy electric vehicles. So all the 127 vehicles we've got, they are charged in the depots or what have you. Although we've got a county borough that's only about 11 miles in length, if a vehicle's out and about and the driver notices their charge is down, I suppose they have to find the nearest charging point. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and you are right in what you're saying, that everybody's waiting for more chargers at the moment and for the cost of electric vehicles to come down. But let's not forget that from 2025, diesel or petrol vehicles will no longer be available to purchase new. So I'm estimating an acceleration in the demand for electric vehicles.
Right.
At the moment, 98, I think 97 to 98% of electric vehicles owners, they charge at home. So you must have a home charger in order to be able to, utilize electric vehicles to the maximum capacity.
Yeah.
With our local authority, we are fortunate that it's not very wide. So our drivers, in average, they do around 108, well, not even 60 to 80 miles per day. Now, the electric vehicles, now they all got range over 120, 140 miles range. So it's pretty much like a diesel or a petrol vehicle. If you go below 10, 20 miles, you're looking for a charging point. With us, if we got the chargers in our depot, like in Unit 5, in Unit 20, in the future, we're probably going to have them in Kavarta Park and the other location. It wouldn't be too far away to drive. So it would be a main issue.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. If you do a national business, if you got a national business, or you got to move between local authorities, that will be a problem. To us, we're fortunate that is not really an issue.
Right. And it comes down.
Before you ask your next one,
Yep.
sorry, I did notice that Judith had her hand up. I don't know if she wanted to come in.
Sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it was only to add to that conversation. Yeah, just to mention, obviously, that in terms of the type of vehicles that we could accelerate change into electric, obviously we're waiting for technology to advance. So as Johan's referred to, our larger vehicles, our waste vehicles, whilst we are trialing new vehicles that are coming to the market, at the moment, we haven't got that much confidence due to the terrain of Merthyr. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of hills, and the ones we have trialed so far, their battery capacity wasn't good enough to get up the hills and things. So for that reason, obviously, as Johan has explained, they'll be the vehicles that we change later on when the technology is advanced and that we're confident that they can get around Merthyr and they won't be letting us down on our collections.
Yeah, and that would relate presumably to recycling vehicles, the larger ones. The last thing you want is a vehicle to stop simply because it's insufficient charging that causes all sorts of problems.
Yeah, which is what happened when we trialed them. Yeah.
Ah, right. Obviously, they weren't built to cover the terrain that we've got in the valleys, which would have thought is a good test. I think you've answered the question, but I will ask it. Under 5.5, you refer to the funding from the capital region for a hypercharger. Is that what you were talking about? Where the money's come in for that? Is that right?
Yes, we haven't been granted yet. It's over £600,000, which they will cover waste, street cleansing, bereavement, I believe, other vehicles which get parked in Unit 20 and Unit 20A in Bentlebach. So about 65 to 70 vehicles they park here, and they can all beneficiate of that charger if we get granting and is installed. Is a great kit, and it's got capacity, like the power. You will charge a vehicle, a HGV, for example, in less than an hour. So will make a huge difference to what the technology is now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So that application's in now, and you waited for the answer. Are you and other officers hopeful that you're going to get it?
We are the business case at the moment, just about to submit that. I think the committee in Cardiff is going to meet on the 18th of March, so we should find out shortly after.
Right. I'm nearly finished. And under that paragraph 5.6, you referred there to we don't have accurate records of the vehicles breaking down in waste, but there's been a significant reduction in the last 12 months. I presume that's because they've got a lot of new vehicles, or a number of new vehicles there. How many? I'm surprised that we haven't got a record of the number of times a vehicle breaks down. Is that something system that you've started to implement?
I did start looking since I seen it on the report. That could be useful information. Breakdowns. I mean, we got several occasions when the vehicle breaks down just for a flat tire, and that's caused most of the times to, you know, not having collections completed, because by the time the fitter goes there, it takes about an hour to replace HGV tire, sometimes more, depends on the problems and what caused the problem, or if the inner tire or the rear front, depends what it is. So or the mechanical failures, I did spoke to the waste manager, and he is looking to implement a system where every time collections are prevented due to the vehicle, he will make a note, so we'll know exactly what it is. And I'm going to look at the total for the whole local authorities going forward to know exactly how many breakdowns we got.
Right. Okay. And at the bottom of the page there, and you have referred to it under 6.1, by 2025, we want to replace all vehicles under 3.5 tons. How many did you say? How many vehicles have we got under 3.5 tons?
78 vehicles last time we had on a list.
Right.
So mainly we have small vehicles, which is the vans. The technology is available for those to be electric by 2025.
Right. So it's the vast majority of our fleet that
Yes.
we're hoping to replace by 2025.
Yeah, or shortly after. So everything we buy past 2025, there wouldn't be diesel or petrol anyway. So ideally, we can apply for grants, because I don't know if those grants are going to be available. Once nothing else, you can purchase only electric vehicles. So I think we should take advantage now and replace, if not all of them, the majority.
Absolutely. And I think you've answered the question then with that figure of 78. Because I was going to ask why it's taken 8 years to replace all the vehicles, but clearly if we're hoping, if we get good fortune, that we can replace nearly 80 of that 127 by, is it 2025? What you've got left then is the bigger vehicles, which you and Judith have explained situation about.
Yeah, like Judith mentioned, we trialed in 2020, sorry, refuse vehicles from Denny Siegel, and we kept it for a week. We sent it in the areas where our vehicles normally go, on steep hills, and on 3 occasions they have to be recovered because the battery overheated when it was going uphill and it stopped. So that wasn't good enough. Also, road sweepers, for example, they were great in London. They've been having them for a couple of years, but trying to go up the hill in Merthyr, especially when it's full with water, it won't perform well. So there are some kind of vehicles which at the moment the technology is not yet there. They're improving. Some hopefully in the next 5 to 6 years they will be available, and we can make the transition.
Okay, one last question at the moment, and it's not in the report. We've got vehicles with highways sharing in Abercynon with RCT. I read somewhere that was the intention to bring these vehicles out of that depot into a depot in the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough. Is that happening?
Yes, that's confirmed. The work in Unit 5 in the Brea car park is already started. They're completing now the winter maintenance because they need the barn there for grit and salt. The whole car park is going to be highway depot. I believe in the next few months they'll be ready to move in.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Clive. Councillor David Jones.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Owen. It's been an interesting report. Some of the questions that I had have been answered regarding the topography of the area and how long the batteries would last. The information on the nature of the breakdowns, I think, is very important. As you say, it may generally be punctures, but the other types of breakdown, perhaps that will hold us in good stead for the future. One of the options, would there be an option to charge for use of our charging stations when they're in place? Charge to other companies?
Yes, that's been brought up. It's a bit difficult to grant access on our sites because of the waste license we hold, especially like in the waste depot. We're not allowed to let people from outside in our car parks themselves. They're not even visitors. They got to park outside and they got to walk in. So it's a bit of legislation is preventing us at the moment for that. However, having a hypercharger like the one I apply for, it wouldn't mean that we can extend the cables outside our boundary and maybe create a charging point in front of the reuse shop, for example, where we got a spaces there. So members of public will be able to beneficiate the technology we're using as well. It will be at a cost, obviously, because we can't put it for free. We pay for the electricity, but I can actually generate a little bit of profit from other companies.
Yes,
so, yes, that is a plan. Also, I know we got other colleagues of mine. They're looking at the public infrastructure. So we're gonna have the council is looking to install some chargers in public car parks and public locations where the public will beneficiate out of the charging to charge their vehicles.
Yeah, and as you say, possibly generate an income. My other question, final question, is around our HGV vehicles. You said that we've tested some and the battery power isn't adequate for Merthyr Tydfil. Now, I watched a program on GCB a few months ago, and they brought up exactly this problem, that electrically powered vehicles couldn't do the jobs required because of the long work shift. And they are currently looking at hydrogen cells. Have we looked at hydrogen cells at all?
Yes, we did look. The problem with hydrogen is the infrastructure, which is much harder to implement than there is for electric vehicles. And not just for us, like even for a commercial company to install hydrogen tank somewhere in a pump, they will have to invest a minimum of £500,000, can go up to 2 million, depends on capacity. Right. Now, to do that, they will have to have sufficient customers in the area to purchase hydrogen. So the volume of vehicles, somebody calculated there got to be around 200,000 vehicles charging in regular basis for about 20 years just to get their money back. Now, if you look on the roads, how many hydrogen vehicles we see, to get to near 200,000 vehicles, even in our area, it will be virtually impossible. So the nearest charging place will be Reading for us. Wouldn't be really operational, viable for them. So it's the cost of the infrastructure is way too much, and the hydrogen is more expensive than the diesel. And if the hydrogen is not, created in an environmental friendly condition, it wouldn't be a carbon zero or net carbon solution anyway.
Yeah, but if, as was mentioned earlier on about electric vehicles, all large commercial vehicles will struggle in this area throughout the valleys even. So if there was a charging point here rather than the closest one being Reading, would there be an option to be the charging centre for the whole of the valleys?
In theory, yes, but we're talking about a huge investment with very little return. Like I said, the vehicle we trialed in 2020, the electric vehicle, has been improved since. So at the time was 200 kilowatts hour battery. Now they increase it to 300. They add another pack just to suit us. So as soon as we got the chargers in place, now we're going to trial that to see if it's suitable. Having electric vehicles is more financially, it makes more sense financially than hydrogen at the moment. Like I said, we would have to invest huge amount of money for very little achievement, because and manufacturers of hydrogen power vehicles, they're not as many as electric either, so you don't have many options. When for electric, you got much more options, and the technology is moving much quicker than hydrogen as well. We looked at it. We looked at all the angles, but I couldn't find a solution, or nobody else could suggest a solution into moving to hydrogen.
That's fair enough. Thank you very much for the answer, Johan.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Di. Any other members got any questions? Okay, Johan, I just got a couple I have. First question, because you want to change to all electric vehicles, and you might not be the right person to ask this, it might be someone else, and it might not have even been thought of. Are we looking at generating our own electricity down the line?
Yes, our energy officer, Ian Goldsworth, he's already done some projects which we install solar panels on Unit 20, Civic. I believe Unit 5 is next. Unfortunately, the power we'll need to charge all the electric vehicles is much higher than what we can generate at this point. Let's put in perspective, to charge 70 vehicles in Unit 20, we'll need around 600 to 750 kilowatts per day, when the solar panels, they generate around 70 kilowatts per day. So about 10 times less than what we actually need. I'm not saying that in the future that's not going to change by, I don't know, renting land maybe to put more solar panels, or windmills or anything like that. And then we can invest in storage on site, so we can store the energy and then use it when needed, which will be more much cheaper to do it, and will be our own energy all the time. Because at the moment, all the solar energy goes back to the grid, and then we repurchase it from the grid. But yeah, we got some. We did talk about projects like that. They'll be much bigger and probably more qualified, specialists in people involved in it.
Yeah, thank you. And I was just wondering, because I know there's going to be a planning application coming in for, it's Caerphilly it is, but it's above Dowlais, and I think it's for maybe 5 or 7 wind turbines. And Caerphilly Council are actually going on board with the company RWE, you know, to get involved in it and purchase those windmills. So yeah, it's just a question maybe for the future. I'm sure you guys will look into it. Johan, I know you've done a lot of work now on the report itself and the slide presentation as well. But I'm just intrigued. I am, to be honest, with 127 vehicles for the council. I knew the council had a few, to be honest, but I didn't realise it was that many. I'm wondering, if you get a bit of time, would you be able to send a list of what vehicles the council has and what departments they're in? I'd just be intrigued, to be honest. I think you mentioned earlier there was about, is there 60 vehicles in waste services? Is that right?
No, in waste himself, they got about 44 vehicles. The other ones, the street cleansing and cemetery, waste warden. So they quite a few. They park in the same yard, but they're not all waste. Street cleansing, they got the sweepers, they got vans, they got tippers to collect. So it's not just waste.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm wondering, when you get a bit of time, there's no hurry at the moment. But
Yeah,
it's
sure, I
just-
can.
I'm just intrigued, I am, to be honest. I didn't realise we had that many vehicles. My next question, I've only got two short ones. Do we share vehicles between, or one question, do we share vehicles between departments? And have we actually tried this before, and does it work?
There were many trials in the past. It works and it doesn't. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Very few times it works. Reason for that is the driver's qualifications. I mean, we can change, by all means, small vans, transit vans, yes, they do work. They borrow all the time, no issues there. The problem is with sweepers, for example, or like greeters using a summer for other functions, like for ground maintenance function, and then in the winter for winter maintenance. The problem is you gotta have qualified people, so you pay twice for the qualification from two different departments. And then you got the damages. People, they tend not to be so careful if they share the vehicle with somebody else. But if you give it to one person and is responsible for the 5 years duration of, or 7 years you keep in that vehicle, they tend to be much more careful. The vehicle is driven in the same way, so it's no bad habits of the driver causing damages to the vehicle again, mechanical damages. So it doesn't always work. We got plans at the moment to introduce a pool vehicle for the first time in the next few months. It's going to be an electric vehicle. Once it's going to benefit, all the departments going to beneficiate out of it, and he's also going to advertise for the electric vehicles for everybody else to move if somebody's not convinced yet. So yeah, my answer would be works, but mostly doesn't. There were lots of trials in the past and they didn't work.
Okay, cheers, Johan. Just one quickly then, and this is from your presentation, your slide presentation, and you said you would in future look at getting feedback from the drivers about the electric vehicles. Have you had any feedback already from the seven vehicles you've changed?
Yes, the first department who requested the electric vehicle was IT. As soon as, well, they knew probably more than about electric vehicles than I did at the time. They knew exactly what they wanted. So they as soon as they have it, they say it's great. Everybody liked it. Much easier to drive than a normal vehicle. Much more smoother, less noise. And then the waste wardens, because they used to have lots of complaints from members of public about teaching them how to recycle and be more environmental friendly when they were driving in a diesel van. So the members of the public actually were telling them, like, you're telling me that I didn't separate the plastic correctly and affects your collection and I'm not environmental friendly, but yet you make smoke on my street. So they were the one to move next. So 4 vehicles now that are allocated to the waste wardens, which the feedback was great. They say they feel very proud teaching people about recycling and how to save the environment while driving an electric vehicle. They take big pride in them.
Johan, thank you very much. That's all the questions from me. Di, you've got your hand still up. I don't know if it's a legacy.
Apologies, Chair, it is a legacy hand.
No problem. Anybody else got any questions? Okay. Comments, anyone? Clive?
Yes, Chair. This has been a very interesting report, and the answers that have been given has highlighted that we are on track, and this has to be the way forward. At the same time, we are reducing our carbon output. Also, we're reducing the fumes, which clearly in certain places are likely to affect people's state of health. And also, we are going to save money with a fleet of 127 or more vehicles. Eventually, and I was interested to hear that 78 of them are hopefully going to be replaced in just over 3 years' time. That really is a step forward, and I, for one, look forward to all these vehicles at some time being transferred over to electric. Clearly, petrol and diesel is not the future, and I am really pleased that the council are, it seems to me, well on the road to replacing the whole fleet. And can I thank you, and I don't know if you pronounce your name, first name correctly, because I think it's spelt the same way as, or similar to a Welsh name. Is it Johan, or have I mispronounced that?
No, that's correct. Johan is a Welsh name.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you for the the answers you've given, and you're clearly right up to speed with your involvement and work with the fleet, which is really a very important part of the council's work, because if we haven't got a fleet of vehicles that we can put on the road at any one time without any problem, that's where the problems start, and we've experienced that with the recycling and refuse vehicles, but that seems to be resolved now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Clive. Councillor Jeremy Davis, you got a comment?
Yes, Clive stole my thunder now, really. I was going to say sort of the same thing, but I like to say there, Johan, brilliant presentation. You're right up to date with everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I didn't have to ask any questions because it was already done for me. But thank you for the presentation, very informative.
Thank you, it was my pleasure. I do have lots of support from Darren Schaff, fleet manager, and Judith. They've been great.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm just going to add and echo Clive and Jeremy's comments. Fantastic presentation. Thank you very much for answering all the questions, and it was very informative. Johan, thank you very much.
Chair, just to add one other thing, perhaps we need to keep this in the forward programme for the next administration to keep, from a scrutiny point of view, updated on where we are, of there any issues. So I do think that we need to put this interesting subject on the future programme somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's well, it's obviously up to the new chair, but yeah, definitely a suggestion for them to take forward. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, that's the end of our agenda items today. All officers, you can go. I'm sure you've got lots to do as well. And we'll go on to agenda item number 4, which is the forward work programme. We were talking earlier that I don't know if this will be the last committee meeting. I know there are things planned. Sian has mentioned if members could let Democratic know going forward if they won't be able to make the next meeting. Clive said it was 10 days before the next election, so maybe people might not be available. So yeah. Sian, I don't know if you want to come in.
Yeah, just to echo that if we know that attendance is not going to be or you're not going to be able to attend for whatever reason, if we can know sooner rather than later, then I can let the officers know, so that obviously they can schedule other work then down the line. So if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, it may be, I don't know, are there any members missing today? We've had apologies, haven't we?
Malcolm Colburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So perhaps if an email is sent round to all the members, particularly the members, to ascertain that information, because you might end up with the chair there and hardly any elected members there.
I'll put that down as an action for myself. Thank you.
Okay. I can make it anyway, sure. If we go around the meeting, I can make it, that's not a problem. 10 days we paid for to do a job.
Sean, while you're still here, while Clive has mentioned it previously, it's kind of fitting for this one and for the next one as well. Obviously, just in case we're not on the committee, and obviously there will be a new chair. Clive has mentioned that the fleet management. Could you make it a suggestion for a new chair for when they come in? For maybe it's something they could look at going forward, especially as they want to change another 120 vehicles over to electric as well.
I've already noted that down as an action to be done. So I will move it down onto the suggested topics going forward, and I'll do that as well. I've already noted that down.
Okay. Di, did you want to come in?
Yes, please, Dick. Sean, with it being that close to the election, it isn't. It's like how long's a piece of string? Anything could happen in the meantime. Jeremy and I were talking earlier on about snowfall. Anything like that could happen in the meantime. And with the best will in the world, unless you've actually got something hard planned, you can be sort of indicative that it'll be there, but things could change instantly. So just to be aware of that, that's all.
Yeah, and it's just as I'll send that out, and it's just a prompt that as and when something happens, please let us know, and that's as much as we can ask anybody. So I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the reason I mention it is because in the last cycle in 2017, the last Neighbourhood Services Scrutiny Committee, which was on the 25th or the 24th, basically the same as the next one, it was cancelled as well. I don't know if anyone else wants to bring up anything, maybe scrutiny referrals for future. I think there's a couple on the list of the forward work programme anyway, but I'm sure any new chair will find their own list. So I'm going to skip on to agenda item number 6, reflection and evaluation of the meeting. It's probably be the last one. It's been a pleasure working with you guys, and it might see you after me, maybe.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
May even see you out on the road, Declan.
Yes, I'm sure, Di. I'm sure. Good luck, everyone. Right, agenda item number 7, any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I don't have any, and I formally declare the meeting closed. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone, anyway.
Declan, sorry, you should have said it earlier, but thank you very much for being an excellent chair over this period.
You say the nicest things, Di.
Yeah.
Later.
It's been a pleasure.
All the best.
All the best, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.